done them
Yeah.
before. So you've got that inside view as well. So looking at the Magic Quadrant, and all of those who are listening or watching now, if you haven't done already, I would recommend to get the report. It's very interesting, not only about us, but also about our competitors. But we have the two axes, and one of
Yeah.
those is the vision and ability to execute. So
Yeah.
what goes into that? What does that consist of?
Well, I would summarize it as the ability to execute really is focusing more on what you can deliver today, if you like, current
Mm,
capabilities and past performance as well over the year. And ability to execute is also more skewed towards survey responses. So things like customer experience, which includes business benefits, user enablement, uh, amount of skilled resources out there is one area that's highly weighted, as is
mm,
operations, which includes ability to migrate the software, things like support, and then product or service capabilities. So that really the critical capabilities of the product, as well as
mm.
overall viability of the vendor, sales execution, and market responsiveness, which had a new part as well this year, which is diversity and ethics. So that's a
Oh,
new
okay.
criteria that has
Mm,
been added, which is really interesting. So that's kind of the ability to execute. And then the completeness of vision is focusing more on current capability. Sorry, it's focusing more on the strategy, I should say,
yeah.
and how they estimate that we can sort of deliver on what they think the future is. So how much we're aligned to sort of what they think is the future of BI and analytics. And of course, that becomes more opinion based of the analyst and perhaps a little bit less survey based, even though they're bringing in some survey criteria there as well, like market understanding, which includes things like complexity of analysis and ease of use. But then, what is the product strategy? What is the
Mm.
innovation of the vendor? The marketing strategy, things like social responsibility, how differentiated are we? And then, of course, as I said earlier, vertical and industry strategy, geographic strategy, and sales strategy. So that nets out the completeness of vision and
Yeah.
the ability to execute.
So as far as our position is concerned, so someone to look at that. So we do very
Yeah,
well on the completeness of vision. Maybe, and again, this is
yeah,
my view on that. Not so well on the vision and ability to
yeah.
execute. So give me your reading of why we are where we are.
Well, on the vision side, I mean, what that really means is, as I said, they like our roadmap, they like our
Mm.
strategy, they like some of the innovative capabilities that we do. And actually, it's quite interesting. I was in Dallas Grapevine last week, and there was a Magic Quadrant Power session there, as well as I listened to a webinar on the Magic Quadrant just a couple of days ago,
Mm.
which is in the open source domain, so people can listen to that. And Cindy actually commented there quite
Cindy Howson, yeah.
extensively. Yeah, Cindy Housen, who's one of the main authors of the Magic Quadrant, she
Mm.
commented quite extensively on why we moved so much on vision. And she said that Click had executed very, very well on the product roadmap as it relates to augmented analytics and to hybrid cloud and very importantly multi-cloud as they see it.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, so that means that you can have some of your cloud deployments, for example, in Azure, some of it in in Amazon, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. But there's also that market understanding, which I said, which is survey responses driving the vision axis, and that has things like complexity of analysis, really supporting complex data models, as well as a broad range of different use cases, like self-service data preparation, being able to do parameterized reporting. All of those have greatly improved in the scoring. So I think those combined factors, as well as the fact that they like some of our marketing,
Mm.
they mentioned that in the write-up. Uh, and when I say marketing, I mean things like we're finally getting through with our associative difference messaging and tying that to different business use cases, as well as our corporate social responsibility and our work around data literacy. Those are all components that Gartner really liked, and I
Mm.
think that summarizes why we moved so much on the right on ability to execute. Frankly, I think among the most out of all vendors in the quadrant.
And that's important. And thank you for that. Because when you, if you were to look at it purely black and white, you would say that we were below Microsoft and Tableau because of the way we
Yeah,
are. But if you take the intricacies, and that's why it's very, very important, I think, to
yeah,
read the whole report and not just look at the Magic Quadrant and there, but to read the
yeah,
whole report. It's a detail behind the devil's in the detail, as they say. So why
yeah.
is the Gartner MQ so important to Click and to the industry, I think, on general?
Well, that's a great question. And I have gotten a totally different perspective and understanding of that, frankly, from the other side of the fence. It
Mm,
really does drive a lot of buying. And I think it will drive even more importance as we're moving to become a tier one player because CIOs really look at it. And
yeah.
some foolishly, I should add, only look at the top right of the quadrant and just look at the dots there. So being present in the leaders quadrant is extremely important, and it becomes very real for us because we're only in one magic quadrant. Like a stack vendor like Oracle or Microsoft, they're in maybe 10 different magic quadrants.
And that's
But we're,
important. Sorry to stop
yeah,
you, Dan, but that's
yeah,
important because we just look at the BI Magic Quadrant, don't we? But there are loads more out there
yeah,
as well. That it's not just
exactly.
all about BI.
Correct. But for us, it's all about being really
For
great
us,
in
it
this
is,
one
yes.
quadrant.
Yeah.
To what you said earlier, I mean, that is why it's so important. And frankly, even if we're in the leaders quadrant, like we were last year, but we had
Mm,
last year moved a little bit to the left, we could already see like a reaction from the customer base. So that's
mm,
why it's extremely good that we've moved so far on to the right on ability on vision, but also that we've moved forward on ability to execute. But I would say, like you said earlier, John, read the write-up. Number one, Cindy actually asked about this in Grapevine last week, and only 20% of the audience put their hand up saying
yep.
they had actually read the report. So most people just
Mm,
look at that visual. That's the number one faux pas. But then you should also, frankly, weight it with other Gartner documents, like the critical capabilities, for example, and other market assessments, as well as, very importantly, I would say look at, for example, the Forrester Wave, look at the
yep.
BARC survey. The BARC survey is only customer and sort of survey driven. So that's
We do
also an
consistently well in
extremely,
that, don't
yeah,
we?
we did extremely well, and very
Mm,
important to point out, we did better than Microsoft in both of those reports. So
yeah.
look at the totality of third-party resources out there, not just the quadrant.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, this is something I hear all the
Yeah.
time, and I'm sure you do. So let's put this one to bed. So Magic Quadrant: the more you pay, the more you gain. Is that right or is that not right?
I'm laughing because if I had a penny every time I heard that question since I came to Click, I would be, well, at least I would have 1 pound. So I've heard
Yes.
it a lot of times, and I have a little bit of an allergic reaction every time I hear it because it's kind of sort of insinuates that Gartner is corrupt, and frankly,
Mm,
none could be further from the truth, because I mean, Gartner has nothing else than the reputation. Gartner has nothing else than being an independent third-party vendor. I would even argue that some of these smaller independent vendors perhaps are more pay to play because they depend
mm,
on that revenue stream. Gartner does not depend on that revenue stream. As you know, they have tens of thousands of end user customers. And it would be an extremely foolish move to in any way, shape, or form have vendors being able to affect the position in the Magic Quadrant. And a rhetorical question, if it was pay to play, don't you think that there would be vendors that had bigger and fatter wallets
yeah.
than Click had and even
That's a good point.
Tableau has? There's all those big stack vendors, etc. So absolutely, it's not pay to play.
Mm. And one argument, and we've talked about this before, is that maybe Gartner is too much of an influence. So that's the flip side of the coin,
Yeah.
and that also really drives home the fact that you should never be taken in isolation. And just to look at that quadrant and to say, okay, top right
Hmm.
hand corner, that's what we're going to go for,
Hmm.
is suicide because you need to take that as well as adding other aspects. So
Yeah.
Gartner isn't everything. We may think it is, but it isn't everything. There are
Hmm.
other things out
Yeah.
there. So what should we be saying to our customers about this report then? Some of our customers will have just looked at that top right, will have just
Yeah.
seen the graphic and not read the rest of it, as as Cindy found
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we say to our customers?
Well, I think we need to say that it's a useful flyover of the competitive landscape. They can actually download the report for free in its entirety.
Mm.
So that's number one thing we should say. If they go to Qlik's webpage, there is a link there to the Magic Quadrant because it is a useful tool, but it should be used in tandem with other third-party
Yeah.
sources at Gartner. So that's the other thing that we should say. Um, but like the Forrester Wave, like the Bark Report, as I said, but at the same time, we should push this messaging very strongly because we are in the leaders quadrant, and so we should promote it to our customers, and it's a door opener for us. And I've said it
Mm.
before, and I say it again. It's kind of an invite to the dance floor. The top
Yeah.
right is the dance floor. We're on that dance floor. We've been on that dance floor for 8 years in a row now, and we know that we're a little bit like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, right?
Yeah.
People don't really see like the charisma of us sometimes, but when we get on that dance floor, we just woo everyone, and people see the full power of Qlik. So it's an invite
Mm.
to just get on that dance floor and show what we can do, I think.
That's a very good analogy, and I've now got a picture
Yeah.
in my head of you in a white suit, Dan, on the dance floor. So okay, so we hopefully debunked some of the stuff there. You know, we only have a short time. So if people now want to go and find out a bit more, they want to get more information. You mentioned some other reports such as Bark and Forrester. I think IDC is another
Mm.
one as well. Where do they go to find that information out?
So there should have been an email sent from Jonathan uh, Goldberg, who is our
Mm.
global head of AR, just recently, um, to pretty much the whole field, and that email contains a link that you
Yeah.
can go to that has essentially a people enablement session where we competitively respond to both the strengths that they've written up about us, but also the weaknesses or the cautions that they mention,
Mm.
how to respond with confidence to those cautions for us and our write-up. But at the same time, it also contains some zingers, some tweetable things that that they said about us that can be
Mm.
used, as well as just a competitive look at Microsoft and Tableau, who are the other two leaders in the quadrant, and some of the big movers in the quadrant, as well as some of the stack vendors
Mm.
who, frankly, like Oracle, SAP, and IBM, who moved backwards. So we should use that
Yeah.
positioning as well as we become a tier one vendor. All of that collateral, as well as an FAQ, is in that sort of section. And I forget the link now, but if you look at
Okay.
your inbox, you will see that.
And I presume they could contact you if need be
They
to
can
get more
contact
information.
compete@qlik.com, and we'd be
Compete
happy
at
to point them in the
click.com.
right direction.
Fantastic. Because your competitive team, and just to shine a spotlight on them at the moment,
Yeah,
they're not just involved in Gartner, they're involved in all the other
sure.
things, and we must bear this in mind. And you brought it up just then actually, when we're looking at the Gartner Magic Quadrant, we also need to look behind us. We also need to
Yeah,
look at what other players are coming up and what other,
yeah,
new products are on the marketplace, and having a very good understanding of what is around us, and
yeah,
companies that may not be the Tableaus and the Microsoft now, but may be in the future. And it's I think very
absolutely.
healthy to keep an eye
Yeah,
on that. Okay, well, thank you, Dan, for doing that. Hopefully, that will have helped some people, watching this or listening to this on the podcast or on Qlik Spotlight on Confluence. And if not, then do get in touch. And also, I'm saying this to everyone out there listening or watching now. If there's anything else that you want to do something similar to this is the first one of these kind of spotlights on a subject rather than a person. If there's anything else out there that you'd like for me to be talking to someone about, then please do let me know. Thank you, Dan, for your time. I know you're a very busy
thanks, John.
man now, and I appreciate taking the time to get involved. So thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye.